These are 6 ultimates that you need to use differently right now. My name's Coach Highway from GameLeap, and I am known for being able to hit GM on any hero that you put me on. I've taken the challenge of doing so many times on many different heroes, and I've learned a thing or two about what ultimates people tend to use incorrectly. Overwatch 2 ultimates are absolutely crucial, so using them wrong is a great way to waste your big moment and miss out on a chance to win way more games. Of course, the best way to build more ultimates and to win more games can be found by coming and checking out our website GameLeap.com. We have hundreds of guides designed for many heroes and each role by all of the top coaches in Overwatch 2 specifically to help you train and improve. Follow the link in the description below or come to GameLeap.com to get your sub today. Getting us right into it, we start off with Orisa, a certainly very strange ultimate that I've seen a lot of players struggle with, especially since this edition of Orisa has only been around for Overwatch 2. Now, the biggest thing to understand with Orisa is that her ultimate, while it can absolutely secure a kill or two on its own, is not built to be a solo kill ult. It is much more effectively used as a finisher or an assist ultimate. With Orisa's ult, it sucks enemies in and begins to ramp up in damage by percentage, which, by the way, can be a little bit unintuitive. At roughly 160%, you can kill a 200 HP target, and after reaching around 150, it starts to charge faster as well. However, getting to this point takes nearly 3 seconds, which is an absolutely insane amount of time to hope an enemy doesn't simply walk out of your ultimate range. Unless you can catch them in a weird situation, they will just leave you behind, causing you to totally waste your ultimate, which, by the way, always try to cast before they walk out, even if they aren't in that 160 kill range, as some damage is better than none. Anyway, because it's so easy for them to walk right out of, the more valuable part of the ultimate comes from the fact that it deals AoE damage and sucks a group of targets into place. So with this in mind, your best bet is to get another teammate to deal some form of AoE damage, or couple your ult with another for a big team wipe. This can include something small like an Ana nade, which will deal 60 damage and anti your enemies and allow for easy follow-up. Or it can include something bigger, such as Rocket Barrage or Reaper ult, since your teammate can use you as a reference, as you will be the exact spot that the enemies get sucked into. In any case, be creative and try to find ways to work with your team to soften enemies up before you ult, that way you can finish them off far easier before they are able to escape. One last trick with Orisa is that you can use your pull to mess with other enemy ultimates, like sucking a Blading Genji or a Primaling Monkey away from your team, which may be enough to keep them alive as they create distance from your enemy. Just be sure to think with Orisa's ultimate and don't be afraid to communicate, and you will find a stark improvement in results. The next ultimate I have some tips for is going to be Roadhog, and Roadhog's ultimate honestly has a serious place as possibly the most underrated ultimate in the game. When people think of big ults, they tend to look for Grav or Flux or Sojourn's Overclock, but they forget about Roadhog. With its changes allowing you to hook an enemy without canceling it in Overwatch 2, it has gotten much better at securing picks, especially against enemy tanks who have a big juicy hitbox to target with tons of burst damage. The real part that makes it underrated, however, is the fact that it boosts targets, making it one of the only truly powerful defense-capable ultimates in the game. Playing Roadhog allows you to shut down enemy ults, since you can simply stop them from advancing. You can knock enemies out of a Kiriko ult, or knock those Primaling Monkeys or Blading Genjis away, or push a Sojourn away from your team so she can't swing on your support and land headshots. Roadhog is seriously a super versatile ultimate that can serve as both an offensive and defensive workhorse, and should be treated with the respect it deserves. All in all, be sure to look at whether or not getting a quick pick is enough to carry, or if it's worth it to instead stop a massive play by the enemy team. Next up, we'll cover Zarya with her famous Graviton Surge. Oh, Graviton Surge, my personal favorite ultimate. However, the main thing I want to talk about for Zarya's Grav is not just its versatility as a defensive ultimate, but also its fight win potential when you remove greed from the equation. Lots of Zaryas are tempted by the idea of landing those fat 3 to 5 man grabs and just lighting up the kill feed with the frozen enemies, or comboing with someone else's ultimate for the ever satisfying team kill. However, these opportunities are scarce, and waiting for them will reduce the amount of Graviton Surges you build over the course of a game, since you'll pretty much be paralyzed and only waiting for a very small portion of each game. Instead, focus on landing a grab on just 1 or 2 high priority targets. Grabbing and killing an enemy Widowmaker who your team has no counter to otherwise is actually a good trade, as they can end up being a hard carry over the course of a fight. Or grabbing an enemy tank and using your personal bubble to then block his heals so your team can kill him will leave the enemy without any pushing power and allow for you to win a team fight far more consistently than always having to wait for those massive playmaking moments where the entire enemy team is stacked up for a good grab. Don't be greedy and go for the important picks when you see them more often, and less for the crazy frag video clips. Next up, we have Reaper, and Reaper's ultimate is extremely powerful, and he is himself a super hard meta selection right now at every level of play, whether you're Bronze or Grandmaster. His easy to play difficulty level makes him a favorite among lower SR players who want to feel extremely impactful without a ton of time investment. His high capacity to burst down a tank, which is important now since there is only one, coupled with his extremely close range tankiness and insane power powerful utility value makes him an absolute favorite among GMs. His ultimate is no less powerful than the rest of his kit and allows for him to kill many different squishies before they have a chance to escape its range. Unless there is an ability to peel such as sound barrier or defense matrix, most of the time anyone caught in his ultimate is going to end up dying or taking an absolutely massive amount of damage. However, there are two things that the GM Reaper is going to do that the lower ranked Reaper will likely not even consider. First of all, and possibly the most important thing, is using your primary fire in order to soften up one target just before you use your ultimate. Since there is not a window where shooting your gun stops your ult from going off, you can pretty much combo your primary fire and your ult at roughly the same time to first knock a target down to half HP, which means they'll die quicker to your ultimate and thus not have a chance to really react or get help from their team. This is obviously massive because it ensures that you will kill at least one enemy, so your ultimate will never be a total waste, even if your other targets escape and end up killing you from outside your range. Always try to fire a shot off at someone just before you ult. Don't even wait to see if you hit them or not. Just make a point of more or less comboing that primary fire and ult key for a quick and unexpected source of damage. The second massive Reaper tip is going to be stopping the super obvious pattern of Wraith walking into the middle of the enemy team and then canceling it to use your ultimate. I see so many Reapers end up doing this, and I get that using your Wraith to get into position without dying can be extremely tempting, but doing so completely telegraphs your move and your plan to anyone who is paying attention. This is completely counterproductive since you want to be able to catch the enemy off guard to help you get picks. Instead, take a few shots from beside your team and make sure that the enemy catches a good glimpse at you. Then, as they are starting to move in, try to use your teleport to get to a flank outside their view and wait patiently for their backline to come forward. The fact that they just saw you a moment ago with your team will cause them to not think to check flanks for you, whereas if you are hiding, they may be prone to ask, "Where's the Reaper?" especially if you've been flanking a lot throughout the game. Since the backline will walk forward and not be paying attention, this allows for you to use your ultimate, and if you combo this with tip number 1 to get the most value, you can really push what Reaper's ultimate can do to its limits. Up next is Hanzo, and dragons are another very underrated ultimate. However, the amount of value you get with them can vary quite greatly. A lot of lower rank players tend to throw their dragons right on their target in order to deal damage, but in reality they move slowly enough that enemies know to get out of the way, unless they are trapped in a room, which is pretty much one of the best times to use dragons. Assuming they are not stacked inside of a room, however, which will be pretty much 95% of the time in Overwatch 2, you should always use your dragons to try to split enemy teams apart and find ways to push the targets caught out of position. This can require some teamwork, but all the same it's important to learn to use dragons this way rather than always taking the approach of throwing it directly on top of your target to try to go for the kill manually. And one more thing, please start saving your dragons for your Zarya's grab. I see so many low rank Hanzos forget that when they are playing with a Zarya, she can set you up for extremely easy fight wins by using grab and locking a few enemies in your dragons, or at least setting you up for headshots. Use the scoreboard to watch your Zarya's ult charge carefully, and unless they used grab last fight and only have like 10%, save those dragons for some easy wins. And finally, for ultimate number 6, we have Kiriko. The tip that I really want to give for this ultimate is not exactly about using the ult itself, although I will give a tip for that as well. The important tip and a big thing that I see Kiriko players forget is that your ultimate reduces your cooldown rate, meaning that you can often get multiple Suzu uses while you're standing in it. It can be very habitual to be focused on saving your Suzu for the right moment, since that's how you play normally to not waste that cooldown, but it's a good idea to try to get as much value as possible out of that cooldown reduction with your ultimate and use Suzu to simply keep your team up, since you'll get more as you stand inside of your ult. The tip for actually using your ultimate, by the way, is to remember that it's pretty much the most powerful initiation tool in the game. You want to look for it as early as possible. Obviously don't use it in spawn, but use it early so that it can get more value with the maximum amount of its duration and allow for your team to push and potentially get an early pick while the enemy is on the back foot trying to run away. And there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more, and check out our website. I'm telling you, it has some amazing content up there, so go and take a look. In the meantime though, guys, this has been Highway. It's always great speaking with you. I will see you all again very soon. Take care and peace.